The last woman to leave the circle gets to have my firstborn. Children are not mini versions of you, and it's not only 18 years of your life. You're responsible for the rest of your life. Hearing Mr. Beast talk lately just weirds me out. Like he's becoming all the people he's talking about, but in the worst way. He had a damn checklist for finding a new girlfriend, for God's sake. He views everything as a transaction or a business. His mind is stuck in business mode. Facts, bro. Facts. Okay. It's nice sometimes when you read the comments and they're not like, you know, I don't know, they're just on, like, I guess agreeing with me. Maybe that's why I like it. But this fucking idea, bro. Oh my God, this is such a tangent. I'm gonna go on it. I don't give a you. You're a viewer. I don't care. Your time is useless to me. Join the Gokanara Discord so you can spend more of it. Yeah. Do you guys want to see a video that changed my mind on a guy pretty hard?
For most of your
Hamza. All right, we've talked about Hamza before, but not for a while. Okay, Hamza is like, okay, Hamza is like the Mr. Beast of men's self-help, which means nothing. He's basically just the most successful recent self-help guy for men. Okay, and this guy has a massive will to power. You remember the Nietzsche stream we had? All 68 of you. I've got a good, strong core fucking audience here, and I love you for being here. And you, I swear, you will fucking be rewarded by watching my streams, okay? This is not just useless fucking content, all right? I swear, I actually will try to provide a little bit of fucking value, or at least a little bit of, like, you know, brain power into these streams, as well as excitement. But yes, Hamza, friend of the show. I'm just kidding. I don't know him. But I've been watching this guy for a long fucking time. Very, very much has a will to power, but this guy is straight up so fucking flip-floppy. And this is a big problem. That this is foreshadowing a video that is going to come out in the near future. But older brother YouTube is a genre of YouTube videos where it's like a guy who's like 20 to like maybe 25, whatever, where they're like telling you how to live your life, how to maximize your fucking life, how to, you know, achieve things, whatever. That's basically just an older brother figure, right? And what happens when an older brother is telling you how to operate in life, it can absolutely be helpful. They can absolutely know more than you, and you can learn from them. But a lot of what those older brothers are reciting is shit that they themselves just learned, just thought about, or like they're just relaying what somebody else said, right? They're regurgitating it to you the same that someone regurgitated to them. It's not necessarily wisdom. It's just like unfucking filtered or uncritically analyzed experience, right? Do you know what I mean? And Hamza is a perfect example of this. This guy sometimes just throws out fucking statements and advice that is actually like sometimes borderline dangerous. With like, there's a big obsession in the male self-help sphere on like maximizing your testosterone, which again there can be an argument for doing that, but you have to be careful when you say this shit because it can come off as like, oh, so I should be on steroids, I guess. And Hamza's fucked that up in the past, but yeah, they can also just like say one thing one week and then just say a different thing the next week. And they are always trying to avoid criticism too. They have very, very like self-reinforcing little cage kind of echo chambers, right? Because all of the people in their comment sections, they're very positive. It's almost like a bit of a toxic positivity sometimes, right? Because they're all trying to reinforce each other. They're trying to lift their kings up, which is good. But you got to fucking face the mirror sometimes. You got to face the criticism. And yeah, these guys aren't great at it. But anyway, the funny thing that I saw was this guy fucking uploaded a video on how to love a woman, right? Gets 500K, which is a lot. An hour and a half long video where he's telling you how to love a woman, right? Obviously, a lot of guys watch this wanting to learn, eager, whatever. Fucking 2 weeks later, he uploads a video called Reject Women and Embrace God. Reject women and embrace God. Now, you'll notice this fucking video doesn't say women anymore. It just says degeneracy. So it used to say, when he first uploaded it for the first day or two, it said reject women and embrace God. Now it says reject degeneracy and embrace God. I don't know if women are the degeneracy, but I don't think that's what he means. But long story short, it's kind of fucking odd that this guy who just made a fucking video saying how to love a woman, then he goes reject women and embrace God. And the advice in this fucking video is so suspect. I might be wrong. But let's watch it together and we'll see what your guys' opinions are, okay?
Minutes that will drastically help your future relationships. I've just done it. I've just ended things with the girl I was currently dating because I've done this practice.
Fuck. So for context, his video on how to love a woman, in the thumbnail was his girlfriend who he 2 weeks later broke up with. And he's going to explain why he broke up with her.
On the left-hand side of a double-sided like notebook, write down what you want from your future wife. And I know this seems abrupt and stuff, but this is a really good message that I want to put to you first, and then I'll explain like the story and whatever afterwards. On the left-hand side, just write down what I want my wife to be like, and go through as much detail as you can. And the categories that I've used is family, history, especially sexual past. That's literally one of the most important parts of history. Personality, friends, character, and anything else you can think of there. Write that down in, I wrote this at the top of this page here, best case scenario. If you are an ambitious young man and you expect to become quite successful, quite driven, quite like, you know, a prize, then write down the absolute best case scenario. So you want, for example, other people will disagree and they'll say this is unlikely, but you want your 10 out of 10 in all ways, right? Your physical, the character and everything like that. You want like that absolute best case scenario, and it's just write it down with no filter on a private like piece of paper that no one can see, because it, you know, it might feel a little bit cringe to write down certain details. It might feel kind of uncomfortable, especially when, like, I think a really big part to talk about is the things which are quite controversial, like her family, her sexual history and stuff. These are things that a lot of guys don't speak about, a lot of guys don't think about. And things like personality, like her friends, her network, her character, what's her values, the sense of humor, what she looks like, as much detail as you want. Mine was just one page. The idea is that once you write this down, you are now held accountable to stay single and actually stay celibate, to not have sex up until you meet that woman. What I want my future wife to be like. Parents are together, obviously. The mother admires and respects the father. The mother's still attractive. They're successful and they're wealthy family. They're in like my like work like class. Like zero sexual past. Literally nothing. Beautiful, feminine energy. She either really wants to be like a housewife and a full-time mother, or she has like a really cute, wholesome job that she like really enjoys. She's positive, happy, giggly. She's warm. Her friends have all got similar values. And you know, I'm going to tell you the truth, what I wrote here. Her friends, no men. It was just one page.
So what he is basically telling you to do right there is to create a fantasy. He is asking you to flesh out your fantasy of a sexual partner or a fucking romantic partner, okay? And that fantasy, it will be entirely, completely shaped by your ego, okay? Your ideal ego, especially, right? Like what you want. So it's not even what you are or what you literally live, right? It's what you aspire or what you, it's like based on your lack, right? What you don't have now. And so that, yeah, by creating this fantasy, we'll get into it. We'll watch a little bit more, but creating a fantasy of what you want based on a fucking list, bro, is straight up borderline brain dead, okay, in my opinion. Now, you could maybe make an argument for it. Yeah, of course you can, but it's like not a fucking cool idea, bro. It's like way weirder than you would maybe initially think, because it's like what this can do, right, is you create, it's again a fantasy. This is like an ideal that is completely shaped by your ego. You can create almost potentially like an impossible image of like a perfect person, right? Because that is technically what this is. You're looking for exactly what you want. It can be argued that nobody really knows what they want, especially inexperienced people, right? And who is going to be watching a self-help fucking guy, a men's self-help guy on YouTube? Inexperienced people. largely, right? So you have a bunch of inexperienced people and you're telling them to create a fantasy when they actually don't really know what they want. They haven't had the lived experience to understand what they like. Bad fucking idea. We'll get into why, but let's watch a bit more.
But then I did the next page then for the girl that I was dating. And I won't go into like too much detail out of respect for her, but like essentially it didn't match, and it made me realize that I was in this relationship more for the short-term pleasure that is gained from having sex with a person and connecting with them, and you know, like the good feels of a relationship, rather than the long-term value that would come from a partnership, which leads to like literally, you know, 20, 40, you know, years of a relationship, of children and marriage. I've changed a lot since my original red pill days. I'm no longer this guy who only craves like promiscuity and hooking up, and you know, who values that. In fact, that's something I really like have tried to devalue in my life. It's been a long-term project for me to not strive for the short-term like hookups that the modern degenerate world gives to us.
So there's a difference between short-term hookups and having a girlfriend that you're not sure you want to marry, for the record. Those are not the same.
I understand if you don't want to do this. What I'm asking you to do here, of like writing down this list of what your like the wife that you want to have, who would have your children. The idea is that once you write this down, you are now held accountable to stay single and actually stay celibate, to not have sex up until you meet that woman. If you actually want to, like, don't click away right now, because this is going to start to make you feel uncomfortable. If you have watched hundreds of my videos, think to yourself right now that this is a message I've decided to put out there to almost 2 million people, like subscribers and everything. Just think to yourself right now, if you have benefited from my videos before, that I think this is one of the most, at least for a man like me, I think this is one of the most important lessons that you could get. Once you've written down and really clarified what you'd want in your wife, for you to maximize the success of your future family, you would choose to stay single and to actually stay celibate. Because if you don't stay...
Oh my God. So much going on there, bro. To maximize the success of your family. Okay. All right. Where do I even fucking start? God damn. It's tricky because on a fucking real surface level, this sounds like totally sound advice. But when you take into context that, again, he himself just said, like, I'm sending this out to 2 million fucking people. Again, bro, 2 million kids or like young men who, again, are likely inexperienced, right? That's why they're looking up to an older brother to give them advice, because the older brother can relate with a little bit more experience. He can relay what he knows, okay? To tell, you know, an audience of like 2 million fucking like guys younger than you with less experience, to tell them that they need to make a list of exactly what they're looking for in a wife, and that they should be held accountable to not mess around, date, it's almost implied, but, you know, basically like romantically consider anybody outside of this ideal. You're straight up, that's a recipe for isolation. That's a recipe for allowing their fucking egos to deny them every person who presents themselves. Right? Because if you have this fantasy version of who you're looking for as a partner that pretty much fucking nobody can live up to, because it's like, first of all, not static, okay? It can always be shifting and changing. You can always, if anything, you can even look for flaws in people to prove that they're not that ideal, not that imaginary fucking fantasy. But also beyond that, it's simply something that the ego, again, the ego creates the fantasy, and it can use that to protect itself. Because if you're interacting with women and you're kind of interested in them, but you're scared of rejection, you're scared of potentially having to actually fucking seduce them and start a relationship with them, you're scared. It's not just being scared of rejection too. People are scared of relationships nowadays. People are scared of that commitment. People are scared of being thrown out of their own zone. You know what I mean? Because we have such fucking atomized lives right now, especially obviously with COVID that wasn't helped. We're used to being kind of isolated in our own thoughts. We're used to kind of just mainly dealing with ourselves, right? It's to almost fuse or to flirt with the idea of meshing your personality with another person on that fucking level, deep of a level. It's scary, okay? And by creating this imaginary fucking ideal with this list of characteristics, fucking brain dead, straight up brain dead. I'm actually pissed off. I know you can tell. Because it's like, whenever I hear advice that's so sus being given to fucking kids, it pisses me off. I'm going to be honest. And I know that he doesn't mean harm. I know that he thinks he fucking deludes himself into thinking this is like good advice. The reason that he thinks this is good advice is one of the main flaws of older brother YouTube. He is speaking from his experience. This is a guy who already has enough fucking experience to be like, all right, now I want to just find someone to settle down with. You know what I mean? But he's relaying it to his fucking audience as if they should be at the same level that he is. As if they already have that fucking experience. And now they need to create this list of fucking ideal. This is a guy who clearly, if we're taking it in a Lacanian sense, you know, I don't know if you guys remember when I did the Nietzsche stream, I kind of tiptoed into Lacan a little bit, all right? Lacan talks a lot about lack, desire, the nature of it. You know, he builds off of Freud, whatever. If you think Freud's a fraud, there's certain ideas that are pretty undeniable. Daily life, right? There's basically, there's something that is compelling us to achieve things, to want, right? And that is a lack, all right? We all have an inherent lack, basically, within ourselves. That's what advertising preys on. That's what everything that you're kind of, you know, that you feel that you are compelled to accomplish or whatever, it's all built on a lack. That's fundamental. You can never satisfy the lack, okay? Even when you achieve everything that you set out to achieve, you will still feel the lack. And that is exactly what this guy is fucking demonstrating right here, all right? This guy, again, he had an intense will to power. Over like 2 years, he got to 2 million subscribers. He was a big figurehead, is a big figurehead in men's self-help, right? Big accomplishment, not easy to do. But will to power, he got so much of what he wanted, all right? He managed to actually attain so much of what he wanted, right? And he feels a lack. He feels like he still wants to achieve something. So he is basically throwing aside his chick and looking for this like impossible ideal that he wants to always be striving toward. It's enjoyment. He wants more enjoyment because you get enjoyment out of trying to attain what you want. You're not happy when you actually get what you want. You get enjoyment out of trying to attain what you want. So he's talking from a perspective where he wants to enjoy aspiring towards something, okay, that is almost impossible to achieve, which is, again, your ideal imaginary fantasy of a woman that you're going to marry and have kids. Straight up, this is like a denial of this is like it's just a weird way to fucking approach a relationship, bro. It's very sus because it forces you to only think logically about what you want, more or less, right? It doesn't make you analyze like little micro fucking aspects of people, relationships, individuals that you like, that you look for. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, when a young kid gets this fucking advice, make a list, create a fantasy, and pursue that fantasy and remain celibate. Don't be in a relationship until you achieve that fantasy. They can use that. Again, this is crafted by the ego, all right? They can use this fantasy that is a manifestation of their ego to deny themselves experience, to basically be like, maybe I'm interested in this girl, but no, she doesn't match like these 3 criteria on my list, so I'm just not going to pursue her. I'm just not going to try. And then, since you are basically constantly denying yourself the attempt of actually seducing or trying to be with people that you're interested in, when your ideal fucking fantasy manifests, which it might not, but eventually maybe sure it will. If it manifests, you won't have any of the fucking skill, the game, the fucking, coordination, the experience to capture what you are fucking looking for. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. Long-winded, but I feel like what I'm saying makes sense, right? Let's see a little bit more.
Single. If you get into a relationship with a girl who doesn't match that criteria, or if she matches the criteria, then 100%, okay, go on. And, we could still make a mistake and stuff, of course. Like, what you write down right now may not be objectively the universal truth of what would have been the best wife for you. It's with your current awareness. But it probably would be a good step in the future rather than just blindly going in, using Tinder and using Instagram and everything, meeting a girl and she's kind of cute and, you guys have sex and it's kind of awesome and stuff. Before you blindly go in, just think to yourself that if you did actually stay single, you would, one, work harder because you wouldn't be distracted by any kind of relationship, and two, you will not be able to clear-headedly get into a relationship that is with a woman who is not your future wife, because the only reason you would get into that is for the short term, and you know for a fact that thinking about the short term does not lead to success. You're on this journey, you're watching this kind of content because you want to be like a top-tier successful man, and it requires sacrifices, and this is the one sacrifice that I have so hardly struggled with, and you probably feel somewhat of the same.
Doubtful.
I understand right now, I can imagine like my YouTube analytics is dropping because people don't want to be held accountable to this, and just tell us the 5 quick tips to get girls, but this is like, well, once you...
It's funny, it's interesting because on a certain angle, he's correct. What he's saying is not wrong. That's why it's a little bit hard. I'm trying not to be too fucking like, ignorant of his opinion or whatever. It's like, yeah, okay, you can have criteria for a relationship where it's like, I'm not going to date this person if X, whatever. You can have your fucking preferences and shit like that. But this idea that you have to paint the fucking fantasy and that you need to only pursue the fantasy. Sus advice, okay? But again, the opposite of what he's saying is true too. Like, there are pitfalls in relationships. You can get into very bad relationships if you're going in head first blind, okay? So yeah, try and be dialectical about it, okay? You don't want a fucking list of your perfect fucking woman. It's a bit weird in my opinion. You can have preferences, whatever, sure, yeah. But I would suggest that you try to actually try to discover what you actually like and are looking for. Okay, because it's one thing to think you want something. It's another thing to know you want it, to have experienced not having it or having it, okay? And to know that you like it or don't like it. So, yeah. But at the same time, you don't want to go in head first blind, okay? You want to get to know people. You want to, you know what I mean? Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much the rant that I want to go on about Hamza. But
I just spoke to all my family, and they've actually gave like my ex-girlfriend, who I've pretty much got back together with her, but I asked them about her, but my family gave her the blessing actually. Just every metric that I could find that like researchers say is like one of the most important, like we're matching really well. The only thing that was against it was the red pill stuff.
Oh, you mean the stuff you were telling your audience?